Alright, hey guys, it's me, afroblezsom, Seeker of Manga, here once again, if I could speak, to talk about Four Knights of the Apocalypse, Chapter 162, Those Who Yearn. And we get this nice color spread at last. This is what I've been waiting for. This is what I've been waiting for a minute. Now I can actually do my fan art of Percival and Yugo together. Honestly, I personally thought that the bodysuit would be like a dark green, not dark green like this, a dark purple or some sort of purple to match with his eyes and eventually his helmet when he gets it back, when he wants to wear it again. But the green, it's not the worst color choice, but again, I think purple would have suited him a lot more. But hey, maybe it'll grow on me. Maybe it'll grow on me. But yeah, then we have Narcians and Andoni there in the corner. And it seems Percival is holding a sword of some kind. The logo is obviously covering that. So I'm guessing that will end up being that will be the weapon that Dubs makes for him. So seems Nakaba spoiled us on that. As we see Gawain holding Rita, or well, making it levitate rather. And we got Tristan's pretty ass over in the back, wearing armor, it seems, rather than the fit that he's wearing currently. And obviously within that, the purple background, all that lightning and shit, there he is. I could spot him from a mile away, man. My glorious king, Beltrite. But now let's actually start the chapter, and we first see this nice giant cane-shaped crystal structure where the tower is taking place, where the festival is taking place, and Percival talking about how cool it sounds, with Gawain noting how nothing really ever made Percival nervous at any point, with Narcians pointing out the big crowd and how Donnie's like, yeah, this kind of freaky, and asking if all these people are going to be participating in the gladiator festival, with Gawain saying that most are just curious onlookers who don't have the gall to actually fight, and Donnie mentioning how they got like real slimy looking eyes, with Percival mistaking it for shiny. And again, I think this is just more excuses for Nakaba. I think Nakaba is starting to enjoy the chibi, the low quality chibi faces and reactions as well. He's been doing them a lot recently since he came back from the healing chamber. And yeah, I do agree with Donnie on that. Look at these niggas glaring, especially this guy with the mustache. Why you got your mouth open like that? Like diddy ass nigga, bro. But yeah, and moving on, and talks about how they're here and all, but asks about, the promised weapons, because obviously we didn't see any weapons on their hand for them. With Gawain saying a spell, and summoning, I'm guessing she just used a port to summon this box, and mentions how that they'll be in the box, but mentions that Dubs is gonna send them through as he completes them.
You what?
Which I can't do. Yeah, Nakaba's enjoying this shit. But yeah, Donnie goes on to say probably what we're all thinking, as he is the the audience is self-insert at this point, it feels like. Then like, what's the point? And sort of backs him up, saying that yeah, like we kind of need him now. But Gawain goes on to explain that Dubs is meticulous with his craft, and that they can only talk to him for the complaint. But Narcians seeming to not say anything, with Percival noticing and asking if there's anything on their mind. Narcians mentions how like this, even though weapons are key for them, they have to focus about not being sort of noticed, since obviously Beltripe and the other Chaos Knights sort of know their identities. And it is a point which the others make sure of, as all the Chaos Knights know the descriptions of the Four Knights now. So Donnie and also haven't been exactly quiet when they've been in Camelot as well. Dalcians mentions how they'll technically be good since they've been in the Fairy Realm the past couple years. And Gawain, she's so clutch, produces these magic anti-awareness rings that will sort of that's infused with mentalist and deceiver magic. And she basically explains how like they could like cloak themselves with just by wearing them, and help them realize that they're not the Four Knights and they're friends. And Donnie goes on to state that like he could sneak up on Beltripe and just off him in his sleep, with Gawain going on to say that like these things aren't like like super OP like that, and that like they'll have camouflage against outside hostility, as in people who have intentions to harm you. But if you're out to murder someone, then they can't cloak that. And then we get a voice, and he says, "Well met, my little dung beetles crawling around Anfield." I can't lie, that's a crazy way to address your participants. Nigga has no type of shame, and goes on to confirm that it is my glorious King Beltripe, and goes on this little god of high school as introduction. What is it you seek? Freedom, fortune, or perhaps glory? Like I swear this is what they were saying to the participants to get them to join that tournament. And we see this little window of these background characters saying their different things. It's freedom, man. What do you think? Which is fair. Like they're in prison basically. You know, the other guy saying girls, which, hey, I mean, do what you want to do, I guess. Like, and then this nigga on his total drama island shit, he just want to be famous. And Percival locking in, just saying, I just want to beat you all, possibly just talking about the four evils and Arthur. But he goes on to say that if you want to participate in the first festival and want to win, you have to proceed to the tower at once. So a lot of people start to head out, and Gawain and Percival sort of look at each other and give themselves a nod, explaining Gawain and Percival sort of agreed that they'll tackle the festival themselves, since it's dangerous and stuff, and they don't want the others to sort of be subjected to that. But there's a silence, and then they just follow behind anyways. And obviously, we know how stubborn they're gonna be. Do you really think they're gonna let Percival and Gawain go off on their own? Especially Percival, he's been gone for 2 years, and Narsians do not want to be away from this nigga. Yeah, and obviously Donnie he's just a broski, and yeah, they all basically just promise each other that they're gonna win. And yeah, Percival doesn't mind that. Seeing this little panel of them drawn in his eye, I can't lie, this feels very foreboding. But again, I'm not really good with my shots, am I? But it does feel very foreboding. But Donnie mentions how like they don't see any entrance, but everyone sort of gets teleported up to the top of the tower anyway, so there's sort of no need for that. Then it's just like they'll have to duke it out at the top with how large the crowd it is, with Narsians mentioning that there's at least 300 or 400 people, and wondering what they'll have them do. And Beltrap goes on to announce that there's kind of too many of y'all. This is like, you know, I'm gonna pull a page straight out of God High School's book real quick. Y'all niggas fight each other until there's only 16 of y'all. You can use anything you like, weapons, magic, muscles, and everyone else is your enemy. So box!
He copied my whole fucking flow! Word for word, bar for bar!
Until there's only 16 of y'all. And immediately everyone just starts squabbling out in this bitch. There's a whole bunch of fighting going around everyone, and one guy trying to go after Team Percival and going, saying to take out the kids first. Donnie using his telekinesis. Oh my days, he's gotten so good since the beginning of the series. Using telekinesis to lift like 1, 2, 3, 4. Stop 4? Yeah, 4 niggas up. And bringing them all together into one ball and just throwing them around, hitting a bunch of other participants straight at Tantris, who splits them up. I was talking about I will dedicate my victory here to you. Talking about Isold. I mean, I don't think that's Isold again, but you know, that was a clean entrance, nice pose and everything. I can't hate. Is he wearing the earring again? He's wearing the earring again. And then Beltrap notices the mix of light and darkness in Tristan's magic. Gawain immediately notices, oh yeah, he's here as well, and then teleports one of them into his hair to make a little ponytail. I can't lie, that's fire. Little ponytail, like, yeah, that's fire. And then Beltrap is like, yo, well, was I tripping? No, you wasn't, my glorious king. You were just getting outduped. And speaking of Gawain, she's running absolutely rampant, throwing spells at a bunch of the other participants. I think even one of the background characters there was the one talking about how he wants his freedom. And yeah, she's just going crazy. Nice to know that she still rampages every now and again. She hasn't changed. And then obviously they're sort of like, yo, get to stepping to Percival. And Percival sort of just moves and just literally one taps like 8 dons face down, ass up, like the sluts, bro. Which I find is crazy. And them mentioning that like they're totally drained and one concerned if he's gonna die. Why does that nigga look like Vargas low key? And he just questions, are we gonna die like this? And Percival mentions that you'll be fine after a day of sleep, which makes you wonder what, like, Percival, this nigga is not Morrigan. He did not hit pressure points. I'm guessing what he did is he just probably just attacked their soul, maybe. Somebody raises a sword and brings it down to Percival, who, no hand behind the head, he just blocks all that shit without much effort. And the person mentioning that they just want to win and they don't have a personal grudge against Percival at all. But Percival just continues to easily deflect and notices the style looks pretty familiar style, with a person then stepping back and falls to their knees straight Dirk, with Percival asking if they're okay, and the person just starting to seem to have be exhausted, and two people come running and saying that they'll be on their way to help, and reveals that it's Theodora in that armor, which leaves Percival kinda stun-locked, because obviously we all know who Theodora is. Ironside's biological son, and Morlach's nephew. So, ergo, Percival's adopted brother. And that's where the chapter ends. This was another nice chapter. It didn't. We got to see some hands being thrown. I'm not gonna lie. We got some squabbling. I like to mention actually that compared to the other guys that were running at Percival, he actually brought out the magic sword to deflect Theodora. So that shows that Theodora, even though he has that debuff of his, has been trained by Morlach to a degree that he can somewhat be at a level where Percival, as he is now 2 years later, is using his magic sword to deflect his attacks, rather than just one tapping him. Maybe it's because he has armor on, but in terms of, do I have anything to say outside of the things that I mentioned as I was going through the pages? Not really. Percival being able to damage the soul, he really is Vahito's worst nightmare. The little buttons, it feels kind of too convenient for Gawain to have. I mean, low key, even back in the first tournament at that festival arc, they just put in obviously shit like aliases. It's nice seeing Donnie use telekinesis. I always find it fun watching him use his powers. I'd say one of the only bad things about this chapter is that we only have 2 or 3 panels of My Glorious King. But honestly, I like this. There was a nice little bit of squabbling. I would have liked to see more fighting from Tristan, seeing if him being Tantress has changed his style in any way, or if it's... I doubt it, because when you fight, when you're a fighter who's been fighting for a long time, or a decent amount of time even, your body sort of remembers how you fight anyways. So it's just he's muscle memory in it. So I doubt even with this so-called amnesia, if it is amnesia or if he is just pretending, since he has his earring back on, then he'd still move the same regardless. So, but yeah, I would have liked to see him fight a bit more. Maybe next chapter. This was a nice chapter. Not too much happened outside of the fighting. The reveal that Theodora wasn't in Camelot, but actually in Anfuin. How he's in Anfuin, who knows? Maybe he just snuck in. Because if he heard about Morlach, he probably did at some point, or overheard about Morlach. If he heard about Morlach, he'd probably want to do something about it. If he could and if he hears that he can get a wish granted, so maybe he might want revenge on Percival for offing his uncle. Maybe even against Arthur, because it was Arthur who sent him on the mission, and he's in Anfuin. Anfuin is a place which is where prisoners and people who sort of don't agree with Camelot's ways go. So if he's here, then maybe this was recent even. Maybe a little bit before Percival and the others ride, but he has his armor on still, so that's something. Maybe even, like I said, maybe he snuck in. Theodora's motives for coming to Anfuin will be quite interesting to hear. I was about to say that low-key Percival could help Theodora and this Isolde, air quotes, with their issues, but it's illnesses. I'm not sure if life spirits have a play when it comes to illnesses, because we know Tristan's supposed to be the horseman of pestilence, which is, or plague in some translations. So obviously it means at some point he'll be able to create diseases and curses, which is his biggest weakness. He can't sort of remove those with his goddess healing or whatever. So maybe it will be a case of obviously as the Knight of Pestilence, it would sort of be up to him to sort of both create and remove curses and illnesses from the group. So maybe it'll be a point where maybe it's something that Percival can't heal, but I can't. Curses, yeah, we've seen that Percival can't do anything about curses. So maybe that is a weakness of the group that can be offsetted with Tristan end up learning how to do it. But yeah, I don't have much more to say on this chapter. It was nice, and it was nice getting that color page. So tune in. I'll drop that drawing whenever I feel like it. To be honest, I'm not gonna tell y'all when I do it. And but yeah, outside of that, y'all stay safe, take care of yourselves, stay hydrated, and see you next week for chapter 163. Who knows what it's gonna be called?